So in this video, I'm going to answer one of the most frequently asked questions on the channel, and that is, are mountain bikes any good for gravel riding? It sort of makes sense. They've got front suspension, big tires. Wouldn't they make the ideal bike for riding gravel road? This morning, Laura and I went on a 25-mile gravel ride, a loop that I would usually do on a drop bar style gravel bike, but I took the Salsa Timberjack instead. Was it more fun? Less fun? Let's find out in this video. Welcome back, Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, if you're into the non-competitive side of cycling, you have found your people, hit that subscribe button. So before we jump in, I do want to say when I make these videos, I'm not here to sell you a new gravel bike. If, a mountain bike is all you got and you want to ride the grav, then by all means. So the test ride I did this morning was a 25-mile loop out to a fishing spot that we like to go to and fish. I think it's pretty representative of the different types of gravel routes around here in Missoula. It's a mixture of pavement, some rough double track, some smooth dirt roads, and of course a decent amount of climbing and descending. The bike I rode on this ride was the Salsa Timberjack in 27.5, and this isn't a review of the bike. I'm going to do a full-on review once the trails dry out here and I can actually take it out on some single track. So the loop starts chill enough with some paved city roads before we get into the dirt roads. It was early in the morning and it wasn't too windy yet, and I had a lot of energy, so in terms of keeping up with Laura, that wasn't an issue. The next kind of unique sector of the ride is a steepish dirt climb. And on this part, I think both bikes did fairly well. I did appreciate the naturally low gearing of the mountain bike, so I was definitely able to spin up. Can't help but feel though I was dragging up some extra weight in the form of the suspension fork. Typically, most gravel bikes will weigh less than a mountain bike, and on smooth dirt road climbs like this is where a gravel bike would naturally excel. Not that you couldn't ride up it with a mountain bike, because of course I did and many people have. But in this kind of terrain, this is where I would prefer having a drop bar gravel bike. And of course, what goes up must come down, and the next part was a screaming descent on that smooth dirt road. And I would say this is where the mountain bike really shone. Because of the high trail in the front, the bike was just naturally more stable, going downhill really quickly. So I could really tuck in there, go downhill fast, but still feel relatively safe. So the next section is where things got really interesting. It was some really steep climbing on really rough terrain. And here, of course, is where the mountain bike would have a natural advantage. It's got the low gearing, it's got the wide tires and the front suspension to really absorb those bumps. And you've got really good control with the wide handlebars. So I've ridden this route a ton of times with drop bar gravel bikes, and completely doable, a lot of fun in a real silly way. It feels like more of a technical challenge for sure when you're doing it on a drop bar gravel bike, but completely doable. So in this section of the ride, there is a lot of up and down on this really rutted double track. Lots of deep pools of water. They've got to regrade that road later on in the year. And as you would expect, the mountain bike handled it really well. And this is where things get a little bit subjective. On the one hand, the mountain bike with the front suspension and the wide tires kind of just breezed through this section, and that was fun in a way. But on the other hand, because the mountain bike was so well equipped, it kind of took away a little bit of the technical challenge, the sense of underbiking that I would get when riding a drop bar gravel bike. This is a bit of a fuzzy gray area. Some people are of the mindset that, of course, you would want to ride a bike with front suspension. Duh, it just makes sense. And others, like me, part of the joy of riding a bike is being slightly undergunned, but still making it through. I think it's in this nexus of being just prepared enough and the unknown where fun and adventure happens. And when you're overprepared or have just the perfect gear, to me, it feels slightly less fun in a different way. No doubt in my mind that the mountain bike was definitely the faster bike on these rocky descents, and probably the more appropriate bike, but also in some ways, like I said, it was slightly less fun, actually. So after the rocky double track section, we hit pavement once again and turned back north into Missoula. And this is where I feel like I really suffered on the mountain bike. This stretch was largely paved trail and paved roads, straight into a block headwind. So for about half of the ride back, I just felt like it was a complete slog, partially because of the rolling resistance of the larger tire and just the weight of the front fork, but mostly because I couldn't really tuck into a more aero position. I know I don't race, but I can appreciate the benefits of aerodynamics. And when you're on a mountain bike and your arms are like this, not so good. So for the complete back half of the ride, it just wasn't very much fun. It was a slog. I actually start to slightly regret my decision for taking the mountain bike out there. So what's the conclusion? Does a mountain bike make the perfect gravel bike? Well, for me, it kind of depends. I mean, in this instance where there's a fairly good mix of pavement and off-pavement riding, about 50-50, I would say a drop bar gravel bike would be the better choice for me. No, it wouldn't be the best bike in those really techy, rocky climbs and descents. But again, I'm a big fan of underbiking, of having a slightly inappropriate bike riding that terrain. It just adds an element of adventure and just pure goofiness. If the gravel rides that you do tend to take you on some single track, let's say more than half of the ride is single track, then by all means, ride that mountain bike. That would be the better bike for that terrain. Or if you do events like Grinduro, where there's lots of steep climbing and lots of techie single track, also that would be a great place to ride a mountain bike. But if the gravel roads that you ride are truly indeed roads, not single track, not double track, and there's a mix of pavement, then I think, in my opinion, a drop bar gravel bike just makes more sense. But that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are any of you guys super fans of riding mountain bikes as a gravel bike? Let me know your reasons. And if you want more gravel bike content, definitely check out our gravel bike reviews and our building of the ultimate gravel bike with my friends at ACN. And until next time, keep the supple side down.